Is there a dream in you that won't let go? Something that keeps you up at night? An outcome that you desire? It's like your whole life is centered for this one thing. If so, I submit to you that that dream, that burning desire, that passion, that vision, whatever your term is, it's a divine gift. See, because I believe that God put it there. And if he did, then no one else gets to decide the outcome. Definitely not our critics, not our circumstances, not even our past. A few weeks ago, I shared a very lengthy episode, about 45 minutes long, around faith. A few notes, nothing like I would typically have, but just me being real about who I am. What was interesting is that the next week and a half, 2 weeks thereafter, a couple of hundred people sent messages, literally called me on my cell phone, called me, sent personal text messages, thank you notes, emails. I saw people at church I didn't even know listen to the podcast. And they were coming up to me consistently saying, hey man, that podcast you gave on faith was powerful. Thank you so much. Do more like that. Share more content like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. You see, because that conversation was real. It was unpolished. It wasn't very well researched. It was more self-talk of me talking to myself. And so with your promptings and this thing that's been in my head now for about 6 to 9 months, actually longer than that, if you want to know the truth, it started when I was about 16 years of age. And about 6 to 9 months ago, it became like this fire burning in my belly. So today I want to pull back the curtain. I want to share some things that's been stirring me now for months, years. See, I believe that I'm on a mission that's bigger than anything I've ever seen before. This vision I have, holy cow, it scares me and it doesn't come easy. So today I want to share a podcast from my heart. It's going to be part teaching. It's going to be part testimony. It's basically me talking to myself again. Those of us who see this vision, this dream, this aspiration, this burning desire in our heart, we're going to face resistance, but ultimately, I believe that God gives us the biggest, boldest dreams, and he's equipped us and is preparing us and has designed us uniquely for that dream. I believe that with all my heart. So the origin of the dream is interesting to me. In Psalms 37:4, it says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. David wrote that. And it's very interesting to me because most of us, when we read that, we'll think about like God's a genie in a bottle. Like, hey, God, I want a meat lover's pizza tonight. Oh man, Lord, give me a meat lover's pizza tonight. But that's not what that verse means. What that verse means is that when we find our joy, our purpose, our vision, let's call it, in alignment with him, he's going to place the right desires in our heart. And those desires are heaven born. Friends, there are many, many, many things burning in me right now that didn't come from a strategic plan. They definitely didn't come from me and my aspirations. They came from years of being molded, prayer, heartache, tears. The vision I have scares me to death. And some of you ask me, Justin, what's this vision you keep talking about? You've been talking about it for years now. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to tell you what is in my heart, what's burning. About the age of 16, I heard Zig Ziglar on stage. What a speaker. And I remember hearing Les Brown on stage, seeing him on stage. You got to be hungry. Zig Ziglar, help everybody, help others get everything out of life that they want, and you get everything out of life that you want. Charlie Tremendous Jones, Og Mandino, Dr. Miles Monroe. I listened to these people pour into my life from about the age 16 to about the age of 30. Then I got busy with life and family and kids. But that little seed was planted way back when. Why not you on stage pouring into people's lives? Why not you in front of tens of thousands of people in an arena filled with people who want to be fed? Why not you? And friends, as I look now, many of the names I've called are no longer with us. And some of the names I've called, they're getting older. Some have maybe a decade left or so. And at the age of 16, I remember saying, why not you? So I began doing Toastmasters way back when. I began going to church camp and quote, preaching, trying to deliver a message to impact people. For a while there, I actually thought I was going to be called in the ministry. I thought that God wanted me to be a pastor. So I went to seminary, and that's not what God wanted for me. I can tell you that. I don't have a pastor's heart. I have a teacher's heart. But through life circumstances, God has been breaking me. And through recent events, through events over the last 5 years, selling the company and, talking into this microphone for literally over 200 hours, I felt oftentimes like Daniel's son on The Karate Kid, like, God, what are you doing? I'm just going to talk to this microphone. I'm impacting people, and I love impacting that one person. And many of you reach out, you send me private messages on social media, and you send me thank you notes. I've had people send me 3 or 4 books this week with very sweet notes in there about, hey, Justin, man, you're helping me keep going. And those are very encouraging. They are, and I'm so grateful for the platform. But in my gut the whole time, it's like, is this it? Is this all there is? When I sold the company, you heard me mention this with my podcast with Mr. Jerome Myers, that I'm like, I'm questioning it. Am I done? And through a series of events, mid-year last year, I'm literally at home working on the tractor. And it wasn't a vision per se, so to say, where like the heavens open and I see the angels. It wasn't nothing like that. It was just a silent whisper. If not now, when? Here is where my battle begins. Once I recognize the dream, resistance is going to show up. Now, in business, we talk about it this way. We see the vision in front of us. We know where we can drive our company or with our family. We know what we want to do with our children or our spouse or our significant other, with our family and our fitness. We see these things that we can do. And when we start pushing forward, we're going to face resistance. But whenever I'm talking about me versus trying to help you, it's a different flavor ice cream. I like mint chocolate chip. I don't really care for Rocky Road, but man, this is going down like razor blades sometimes. It's painful. And so a few months ago, I was sitting there at the piano, and I've been writing some music, and I was writing some music out for a song I had written the lyrics to. And my mind reflected back to a story in Genesis chapter number 37. Joseph, the age of 17, he gets this dream. He actually receives 2 dreams about his family bowing down to him at the age of 17. You can read it for yourself in Genesis 37, but it's an interesting story of how this narrative works. And it's really what's called a typology of Christ and how Jesus ended up serving in the New Testament. It's pretty interesting comparative there. But here's Joseph at the age of 17. He gets this vision about his family bowing down to him. So what does he do? He goes out and tells his father, oh, okay, that's good. That's good, Joseph. He tells his brothers, and his brothers get ticked at him. I mean, they become jealous. Like, who do you think you are? So they plotted to kill him. They threw him in a pit, and they ended up selling him to some Ishmaelite traders. They sold him to some people who were trading slaves, so to speak. And he ends up as a slave in Potiphar's house, which is at that time one of the high ups in Egypt. It actually worked for the Pharaoh. He actually gains favor and ends up running the whole house. So Joseph gains favor with Potiphar, and he ends up running his entire estate, much like financial advisors do these days, or an attorney or CPA. I mean, he's running a very influential person's estate. But then he's falsely accused by Potiphar's wife. Potiphar knew his wife was promiscuous. And if he honestly thought that Joseph had done what he was accused of, he would have had him put to death. But he couldn't not do anything, so he put him in jail. And so he imprisons Joseph, this guy that had this amazing dream about his family bowing down to him. He's found himself in Egypt after being sold in slavery. Now he's falsely accused, and now he's in prison. And now he's interpreting dreams for people in prison. And his friends, this cupbearer and this baker, they forget him. Eventually, what happens is Joseph's called in to interpret Pharaoh's dreams and is elevated to second in command. Second in command. It's interesting that whenever you read scripture in Psalms 105:19, it says, until the time came to fulfill his dream, the Lord tested Joseph's character. Now think about that. Here he is at the age of 17, and he gets this vision from God, and now he goes through all this turmoil. He gets sold into slavery. I've not had that happen. He gets accused and thrown in jail. I've not had that happen. He's now promoted to second in command. And the scripture says literally until his time came, God tested him. What's interesting is testing oftentimes is not like we're going to school and we're going to fill out the old Scantron. Yes, I just showed my age. We're going to fill out the Scantron. That's not what it is. Testing is actually preparation. Testing isn't soft. it's shaping, it's forging, it's tempering. I was watching my children in a little blacksmith class, and I have several of my friends and clients who are master blacksmith. I was watching one of them one time, watching my kids in their class and watching another blacksmith. And what they did, very interesting, is they took several pieces of metal, rusty, nasty, scrap metal, things that we would look at and say, well, that's worthless. That's just old, worn down. That'll never amount to nothing. These blacksmiths took that metal and they put it into a crucible and they began heating it up and melting it and folding it over itself. And then they'd bring it out and they'd hammer it a little bit. Then they put it back in the fire again. And they take it out and they hammer it. And they put it back in the fire again. And they take it out and they hammer it. And this whole laborious process of this nasty looking rusty metal was turning blaze orange, and all these different impurities were falling out of it. And they're beating it literally on this anvil, just beating the mess out of it. And they'd look at it and they could see it. And I'm sitting here looking at what they're doing. And I'm going, dude, you're sweating an awful lot. And it's hot in here. And they're looking and they say, it's not there yet. And they put it back in that crucible. What was interesting is whenever they could see the product was ready, they brought it out of the fire, they laid it, and they forged what ended up being the most beautiful Damascus steel knife I've ever seen. I actually have one of those knives. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And had I not seen the process, I don't think I would really respect or value the knife. It is gorgeous and it is razor sharp. But I had not seen that process of them taking this old rusty pieces of metal that didn't look like anything and then beating the mess out of it. It's interesting. That's what Joseph was going through. God was hammering him with trials, trying to strengthen his character, trying to prepare him for the very thing that he had given him a vision to achieve. Every fire that Joseph went through was a refinement. It was pulling out the impurities, those things which were going to prevent him from serving at that highest capacity. Now, if you fast forward, Joseph's story ended exactly how he envisioned it over a decade earlier. He ended up being second in command. His brothers thought he was dead. They didn't even realize it was Joseph, and sure enough, his entire family is bowing down before him. And they didn't recognize him. But God used so much in that young man's life, hardship, turmoil, pain, to prepare him for the very vision that he had seen over a decade earlier. You see, the reality is, for me and for you, the real threat to that vision is not external. It wasn't the jail. It wasn't the people that sold him into slavery. It wasn't Potiphar in the story. It wasn't his brothers. It wasn't his dad. The real threat was none of that. Joseph's real threat was internal. The fire from the outside did not break him. But what often happens is the resistance that prevents us from reaching that very thing that we see so clearly, it comes from within. It's interesting, when you read the book of James in the New Testament, he identifies three enemies that can harm our vision. He says the world, the flesh, and the devil. It's interesting how he says it. He says, look now, the wisdom of this world doesn't come from above, but it comes from earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. The world, the flesh, and the devil. See, the world wants to tell us that we're not enough. You're not gifted enough. You're not tall enough. Justin, you'll never spell. Look, man, you were born and raised on a dirt road. You're the weakest of weaks. You're not connected enough. You were homeschooled. The world's going to give you all these things that's going to try to persuade you not to go forward with that vision. The flesh says, Justin, why in the world would you do this? Don't you want comfort? Come on, man. You've already spent 35 years as a business owner. You want to do it again? Oh, man, there's got to be a shortcut. Don't do the hard stuff. Do the shortcut. Oh, man, we've got some things here that we can do. The flesh side is going to look for the easy road. And then the enemy, the world, flesh, of the devil, the enemy, he's going to create doubt. You see, God puts that vision out there, and the enemy just slides in between us and that vision. And he says, do you really want it? You sure God said that? Oh, come on, man. All he's trying to do, the enemy is just trying to trigger a retreat or add confusion or to erode our clarity. Get this, friends. The world cannot stop the dream. Your flesh cannot stop the dream. The enemy, the devil, cannot stop your dream. So he tries, and so they try to stop your belief in the dream. Man, I've been tempted lately. I've been tested. tested and questioned around this dream. Like, is this thing so big? I mean, who am I? I don't have the charisma of a John Maxwell. I don't have the stamina and the voice or the pedigree of a Tony Robbins. I probably align a lot with Dave Ramsey, if you want to know the truth, just old country boy. I look at Zig Ziglar, the sales guy, and I'm like, man, he had a silver tongue. Wow. I listened to Les Brown and his story, and I don't have a story like that. So I got these things in my head. The reality is that the inner doubt doesn't show up from nowhere. It builds up when you're tired, when you're isolated, which brings me to something deeply personal. Deeply personal. Friends, this mission I'm on, it keeps getting bigger. Holy cow. And it scares me more than I want to admit. Not like this fearful, like clear and present danger. It actually is the enemy. I'm often find myself anxious, which I believe is a sin, but I find myself anxious. So what am I doing now? I'm journaling more. I'm writing more than I ever have. I'm praying more. I'm asking God for confirmation. We might say, throw out a fleece. I'm like, Lord, are you sure? I'm letting others speak into me in a way that I've never let them speak before. I'm paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to try to speak truth and give me roadmaps and frameworks and confidence, if I'm being completely honest. I love writing. I love music. Music is like my way of worship. It's a calming thing to me. So I've been writing music for years, for a decade plus. I started writing it when Emily and I went through our 7-year tribulation. It was just a way for me to put my thoughts in paper. And because I love music and I think in terms of lyrics, I find writing lyrics are very easy for me. And with modern AI, it allows me to take my piano music that I can play for it, and then adds a little bit more of a professional quality. So I've been sharing music, I think we got 60 songs online right now on Spotify, maybe on iTunes. And if you look up Justin Goodbread, you'll see them. But so there's a song I wrote called Too Good to Be Unkind. And when I write these songs, often I write it for myself as a way of worship. And I put this phrase in there. It said, you never promised painless, but you, and I'm talking to God, you promised you were near. And even when I doubt you, God, you always make it clear. That's me talking to myself in songs. I wrote another song called my Wake Up Song. It's like, wake up, let's go. Inside there, I put this lyric. It says, keep my eyes on heaven when this day starts hard. The enemy's a punk, but you hold my heart. I have another song that I've just recently written called Fully Surrendered. I lay it down, not part, but everything, all. No halfway faith, no safety wall. You see, at this phase of my life with this vision that I have, these are not just lyrics for me. They're lifelines. But even with faith, this vision is stinking hard. I sit back and I wonder, wow, do you feel that way? Do you feel that way about your vision? The very thing that you can see with your company, with your family. Do you feel that way? How are you speaking to yourself? It's interesting that Joseph, from the time he had the dream to the time he was sitting on the throne, second in command, was 13 years. Every setback was a development. Every setback he went through was God preparing him for that moment. What if the silence that you and I experience oftentimes is not God forgetting us? But what if it's God's forging us? Just like that piece of metal going in that crucible. What if he's forging us? I often say it, and I say it often in the podcast, on social media videos, that I firmly believe with all my heart, God is preparing us what he's prepared for us. It's not a cliche to me. I believe that God is forging each of us to that divine vision that he's given to us. Here's what's interesting. And you can see it in Joseph's story. You probably can see it in your own story. You don't microwave, zap, if you will, yourself to mastery. That piece of metal that was placed in that crucible by that blacksmith, it was forged. It was beat down all the impurities that needed to come out were gone out. Whenever he didn't think it was right, he turned it again and kept twisting that piece of metal. And friends, may I say that God is forging something in you that will outlast every opposition. The very thing that God has designed our lives for, he's going to bring it to pass. He's trying to purify us to get us to that point. That vision that you have, I believe it is inspired by God. That is who I am. I believe that with all my heart. Now, I know that some of my dearest friends are not religious in nature, but you have to admit, you've got a pretty stinking big vision. It didn't come from greed. I know you. It didn't come from self-promotion. I know you guys. I'm speaking to 2 or 3 of you right now directly, and you know who you are. You may not believe in this God thing. That's fine. But you also, I know who you are. And that vision that you have, it is the most selfless thing I've ever seen out of your life. It came from somewhere. So the very fact that it's there means that you're going to be purified. You're going to be challenged until the moment comes where you're ready to step into that. You see, Joseph wasn't ready 13 years earlier when he was a kid. He wasn't ready. Some would argue that even 6 years into this journey, he wasn't ready. The fact is that whenever he was ready, God put him where he needed to be. So here's a charge for you. What did God plant in your heart? Or what is that deep vision that just won't die? I mean, you may have gone a week, a year, a decade, or 20 like my hard-headed self. What's that vision? For me, it's how do I impact the most amount of people? For me, it's could I see myself on that stage pouring into the lives and the audience for people who truly want change? That's my vision. My second question is this. What if your delay is training, not punishment? What if all the hardship that you've faced is actually preparing you for the very thing that you are trying to pursue? What if when that client leaves, we shift our focus from, okay, I'm now poor, woe is me, poor pitiful me, to, all right, Lord, you're doing something. Help me have faith through this. At this phase of life, when I look back on the 7 years of tribulation and all the hardship, the loss, the death, miscarriages, lawsuits, hard times, false accusations, everything, hard times. Friends, I can now see that person 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 25 years ago was not ready. And I don't believe today I'm ready for that vision that I have in my heart. But I'm closer than I was. So friends, here's the reality. You are not too late. You're not too late. I was just talking to somebody a while ago who's 65 years old, and he said, Justin, I've got 3 years. And I'm like, let's get it, man. Let's get it. You're not too late. You're right on time. Your dream is not too big. And the resistance that you're facing is not the final word. It's not. What I've been doing recently is asking God, again, clarify. If that's what you want, Lord, let it happen. If not, shut every door. I'm dusting things off now that I didn't think I'd do again. I'm actually taking speaking classes again. It's like, wow, I remember doing this when I was 16. I'm recommitting. And friends, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep charging forward on this vision until it stops, until I'm just blindsided, until I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not meant to be. So I wanted to share this with you. Over the last 3-4 weeks, I've spoken to probably over 150 business owners in just in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And there's a lot of discouragement out there. So let me speak to you just for a second. From one business owner in the trenches, trying to clarify the vision, just like you, these big goals in my life, some things I've now just shared, my position on how I come to the challenges I'm facing. Let me share something with you. God's not done with you. If that vision is in your heart, it's still going to happen. What dream has God placed in you that you're currently fighting to hold on to? Let's commit to that. Do me a favor. On social media, whatever your channel is, shoot me a private message. Hey, Goodbread, I heard your episode on vision and on faith and this dream. Here's my dream. Let's share it together. Let's encourage one another. Because when God gives a dream, the enemy, he can't cancel it. But you and I can quit. We can quit. We can say, it's not worth it. I just don't want to do that, friends. I don't want to live with regret. I want to go forward and say, I'm going to do everything in my power to achieve this dream that I have. And if it never comes to fruition, at least I can say I gave it my best. So may I challenge you, don't quit. Don't let the resistance that you're facing become regret. Hope this encourages you. Till next time, keep fighting, keep pushing forward. Grab that dream, hold it, and don't let go. Talk to you soon.